Good morning. Okay. Please, I need the energy in the room, really. I hope we are all fine. Okay. So I will start off by introducing myself. I'm Emmanuel Okoroji, and I head the Threat Intelligence and Cyber Risk Management Unit within First Bank of Nigeria, PLC. I'm representing Dr. Harrison Energy. I'm sure you're all familiar with him. And also, I have been a very prominent face in cybersecurity for a very, very long time. Very, very long time. It's good seeing very young people either in cyber or interested in joining cybersecurity. I just recall like 24, 26 years ago, I think I was also in the same position. And, it's a bit confusing sometimes, if you have interest in cyber and you don't have anyone to guide you or mentor you. So basically, this is the table of content that I'll be going through this morning. AI-powered threats and defense, and of course, zero trust models. Those are the two presentations. And really, they speak to, where we are today. I remember many years back, when I came into cybersecurity, AI was not a thing. Zero trust was not a thing. Also, something that was not a thing was the volatility and the number of attacks that we are witnessing today. They were not there. Basically, a lot of organizations didn't even know when they were under attack. So the situation then is that we used to say you have two kinds of organizations. Organizations that are under attack and organizations that are under attack, but they don't know they are under attack. Because basically you had no visibility. And if you don't have visibility, the assumption is that you are not under attack. But the reality could be you're under attack and you are not aware. But today, I think we've crossed all those hurdles. Today, you just count the number of attacks that you're able to fend off on a day-to-day basis, which run into their thousands. So we'll be looking at all that. And second, you can move to the next page. AI-powered threats and, threats and defense. So because today we can see and feel and experience this attack. So basically, because of the volume, humans, we are prone to error. Unlike before, where you have in a year, you see an organization say we were attacked once. But today, with the kind of volatility we are witnessing, you're having like 15,000 attacks on a day-to-day basis. How many people, in terms of operation, can you throw out 15,000 attacks? And with AI-powered attacks, these numbers are increasing. They are growing exponentially. So you can't go to a gun battle with what? With knives, right? Have you seen armies going to war while the other side is carrying knives and then the other guys are carrying guns? Who is going to win that battle? Who is going to win? Yeah, of course. The ones that come with guns, of course, is victory from the onset. So basically, that is what AI leverage has given to both sides. So organizations today are adopting AI in terms of their defense systems, whereas threat actors and cyber criminals are doing what? They are also leveraging what? AI. So it is a very interesting position. So you can move to the next page. So the presentation outline for today basically would be an introduction to AI-driven attacks, characteristics of AI-driven attacks, and of course, future of AI-driven attacks. And then we'll be looking at the impact of AI-driven attacks and then mitigating against AI-driven attacks and a call to action. So basically, this is the outline for today's presentation. You can go to the next page so they could follow. So, in form of introduction, of course, I think I've actually mentioned this. Cyber attacks are increasing by the day. Unlike what I stated earlier when we started, when I started my career, you're lucky. In fact, we were looking for the attacks, and the attacks were not there. So you basically came to work in the morning, and then you sat through the entire day, and you're searching to see if there are attacks happening on your infrastructure. And you're lucky if you find an attack, and you then go into modeling those attacks, analyzing them, and then mitigating them. But today, you don't need to look for the attacks. The attacks are everywhere. Is it phishing? Phishing for any typical organization will run into their thousands on a daily basis. So today you have anti-phishing mechanisms, anti-phishing systems. You have them, implemented across your infrastructure, your email gateway, your internal email, correspondence. In fact, even your network, because some of correspondence. In fact, even your network, because some of these emails might find their way into your system, and then you need to carry out further analysis in order to actually prevent or mitigate potentially malicious attachments that they might have actually, or droppers they might have even dropped on within your environment. So SQL injection. So the attacks, really, malware to exploit security gaps, these attacks are growing in their numbers. And basically, with the rapid nature of this growth, one way to combat this attack is to introduce AI. Because what is the capability that systems, and most especially AI, has given us? It's speed and accuracy. But of course, there are a lot, to that, because when I started my career years back in technology, the typical saying is garbage in, what? Garbage out. So, today I was listening to CNN, and someone was, a reporter was saying that recent research shows that AI engines are actually giving out false information, and it's intentional. So the core of AI, the LLM, if you inject false data, what will happen? What will happen? Typically, garbage in, garbage out. So if you train an AI with wrong data, what will it give us output? What will it give us output? Wrong information. Basically, that's computer science. It's garbage in, garbage out. So we will look at all that, but like I said, today cyber attacks are prevalent and considered some of the most critical risks faced globally today. Traditionally, cyber attack utilize manual techniques such as phishing, SQL injection, malware exploitation. These methods were time-consuming, require significant human involvement, and followed predictable patterns, allowing security defenses to often effectively block them. Like I said, those days, typically, you came to work looking for exploits. In fact, years back, I didn't have to think a second to identify a phishing mail. Phishing mail those days typically had wrong grammatical errors all over them. Who had seen a typical phishing attack probably 5 years or 10 or 7 or 8 years back? You just say, come, what illiterate is writing this? They're filled with errors. And that's why years back, when you want to sensitize staff on phishing attacks, you typically will tell them to look out for spelling errors. Is that not true? But today, is it the same? It's not. if you train staff in terms of sensitization and awareness to look out for spelling errors as a method to identifying a phishing attack, you're not living with reality. You're not living with today. Basically, these mails appear to be written by very enlightened senior executives. That's the way typically a phishing attack email today reads. There is no difference. Professionally written, grammatically correct, and business-like. So things are changing rapidly. And I tell you, when you look at some of these mails, you will know that it is not just humans that are writing them. Typically, a lot of AI intelligence is being used to generate those phishing attacks. So things are rapidly evolving. Let's go to the next page. So AI-driven attacks, basically, AI-powered cyber attacks leverage AI and machine learning algorithms and techniques to automate, accelerate, and enhance various phases of cyber attacks, which includes, the vulnerabilities, vulnerability identification. Today, if you are an organization and you say you are still running manual vulnerability identification, basically you're wasting your time, because your infrastructure, it runs into how many it counts. For a typical IT, you might, when you take account of your IT infrastructure, it runs into their thousands. And just mind you, it requires just one exploitable vulnerability for an attacker to actually leverage and gain access, and of course, crystallize or even carry out a fraud within your infrastructure. Just one exploitable vulnerability. And you, as the blue team, you need to consistently have visibility in terms of the current state of your infrastructure, and also carry out remedial action before the threat actor is able to even identify these exceptions. So, really, if you look at AI-driven attacks, the speed, the coverage, and basically the techniques have changed. And if you take a typical attack today and look at it, you'll find out that really these attacks are not just human. They are not carried out by humans, but basically they are aided to an extensive level by the use of AI algorithms. So like all AI algorithms, the one used by AI powered by cyber attack can learn and evolve over time. This means that AI-enabled cyber attacks can actually adapt to avoid dictation or create patterns of attack that security systems can dictate. Yes, when you look at a typical attack, basically the attacker will want to understand the environment. But with deployment of AI, within a day, I can run through an organization, understand their technique. In fact, run through all information that organization has on the open web, get to know the organization, get to know their technology, their infrastructure, and then prime an attack, and of course, leverage those information to gain leverage into that organization. What are typical characteristics of AI-driven attacks? One is, can you go to the next page? Attack automation. So basically, for an AI-driven attack, the first thing is to automate that attack. And with generative AI enabled tools today, an attacker can easily automate an attack and execute that attack with very minimal human intervention. I've seen these payloads deployed within the environment, basically carry out programmed action, conclude those actions, auto delete the logs, and also clean out themselves, and that attack becomes invisible to any tool within the environment. This is not, science fiction. It's not. These attacks, I've witnessed them live, where these payloads, automated payloads, dropped. Like if they have a mind of their own, you see their interaction, you see them after executing the playbook, you see them then delete logs and then expire themselves and become invisible. So these attacks basically are leveraging AI, and of course, the speed in which they are executed tells you that there is no human interaction that could actually, operate with such speed and capacity. Then the next point would be, efficient data generation. I spoke about this, where basically you're using AI to gather a lot of information. Because if you want to carry out an attack, the first thing is for you to carry out reconnaissance. Typically, that is the playbook of an attacker. Reconnaissance. You need to have information on your target. And today, with AI, driven systems, you can carry out a reconnaissance within a very short time. Very short. And of course, you can do this without being dictated. Because unlike a human that would have some level of physical interaction with data, probably you're asking someone or you're trying to call in, but AI can actually go into both the open web, dark web, gather information that is available, and then present this information to the attacker. And the attacker can then, leverage this information to then, carry out further prompting and automation in order to carry out attack. You can go to the next page. So customization, of course, in terms of customization, we say one of the essential capabilities of AI is data scraping. Yes, because with AI you can scrape data. With OCR, you can actually scrape data, have this data unlike where it's just like I'm trying to read through some of this presentation. I'm finding it difficult because of that. With there was something I demonstrated to a colleague where I took a handwritten document and basically gave it to an AI, and he converted it to text. And if I was to read that document myself, I will suffer my sight to be able to read it. But with optical character recognition, the AI engine was able to take that handwritten document. I don't know who wrote that document, but it was basically a handwritten document that was scanned. I offered it, and of course, it used a number of predictions to say, oh, if this is looking this way, it must be an X and all that. And then with large language model, it was able to then evaluate the context and the sentence, auto-corrected it, and it had a near perfect translation of a handwritten document within seconds. Within seconds. So this tells you the power of AI. And of course, advisories and organizations, legitimate organizations, are also putting this to good use. Unlike before, one of the challenges when we talk about data and data management, you understand, is of course the integrity of that data. But today, with AI being able to read off tests, you find out you're having more accurate data. So organization, in terms of data scrapping, in terms of the data integrity feeding into their systems, they're having better data. Unlike before, I remember many years ago, a typical teller, in a bank branch, you present a check. We had to see, input validation was a big thing those days, because you need to validate every single entry that a teller captures, because some of the tellers, because of the the queue of customers. I've had instances where a teller would try to enter 11,000 naira, enter 11 million naira, 11 billion naira. You understand? On the prompt. And if that data wasn't being validated at that point, of course, that would have actually ended up in the system, and that customer would have been credited that sum of amount. But today, with AI, data integrity is better, because the AI can not just about input validation. It, of course, uses a lot of inference and a lot of knowledge to then determine, this figure, does it look real? Have we had, so imagine if I want to enter 11,000 and I enter 11 million or 11 billion. Of course, the AI with predictive analysis will be able to say, sorry, you as a teller has never captured this kind of figure before. It's impossible for this to be real. And it will then prompt you to say you should validate that figure. And by so doing, we're having better data for the AI to feed off and also take better decisions. So that's how the systems work today. But of course, it's not just being put to use by organizations, but also by threat actors. So reinforcement of learning is one of the characteristics of AI-driven attacks. They can learn from an attack they carried out yesterday. So if an AI attack is primed and sent into an organization, and through machine learning, the antivirus is able to then say, I think this is an attack. And the AI is then stopped. That attack is stopped. The AI, the next time that attack is run, it will look out for that exception that was able to dictate it. So the antivirus was able to dictate the attack today. Tomorrow, the prompting will be, there is an antivirus that asset. And he was able to pick me the last time through an execution ID that was exposed. Now, let me go into stealth mode so that the antivirus in that machine will not even pick that particular activity I was running at that endpoint. So the capability for AI, generated attack to learn, self-learn by themselves, and then regenerate their attack sequence, actually adds tremendous value to how, attackers typically today, carry out attacks. Then, of course, data analysis. I've spoken about this. AI can be used by threat actors to study patterns, user behavior, security gaps before launching attacks. So typically, in terms of reconnaissance, once you send your AI, it could tell you exactly this guy comes in by 8, he runs this particular code by 10 p.m. and he closes. So if I understand that this is what typically this user does, I can actually sequence that same operation, so that if within that organization they have a system that monitors user behavior, I can actually carry out an action that will be tied to that staff, so that their own system, mechanism, defense mechanism, will not pick it as an exception. You understand? So it's a battle, it's a constant battle between the good guys and the bad guys. I sit where the good guys sit. We are always analyzing and readapting and re-engineering our systems. But we also see what the bad guys are doing. Because basically you see typically similar behavior that is accepted within your environment being run by an attacker. And that comes from what? Data gathering. The attacker has been able to gather the data, and because AI-driven social engineering attacks. So basically, today, social engineering is, we thought it was an item that had died, but it has resurfaced. With AI, social engineering is even getting more brutal. I reviewed a particular case that was done with deepfake. So a staff joined a Teams meeting, like if you know Teams or Zoom, joined a session, and the MD and a couple of senior management staff were in that same call, and the staff ran through that engagement with instructions dished out to the staff. After that meeting, the staff executed those instructions, only to be, after the instructions were authorized, only to be contacted by the MD to say, sorry,